this is my PA New Jersey Spec 358 that we just had rebuilt, and we're here at the Pauch engine slash shock room. Then we're gonna get this thing sealed. I've never done this before, so it'll be interesting, kind of learn as we go to do it. But from what I understand, I need to take the intake and one head off so that they can check the bore and stroke. Take two valves out. We're gonna check the combustion chamber, and they're gonna look at the ports and things like that and make sure that everything's up to the rules, and then seal it, put it back together. So take you guys along as we do this and see how it goes. So here I got some extra gaskets. I figure since we're pulling the heads off, or at least one head off, I better have an extra head gasket, because who knows if it will get torn or ruined when I remove it. And then I got extra intake gaskets too, because a lot of times they are, you know, adhered with silicone or some type of adhesive to the head or the intake or both, and you end up having to scrape them off and destroy them when you're taking it apart. So it's good to have extras ready to do this kind of project. Here I am removing the spark plugs. I'm not entirely sure that this type of engine matters, that the plugs are indexed or not, but I'm going to label them and keep them in order anyway, just to make it easier to know which one goes where when you put it back together. I'm putting a couple of bolts and studs in the front balancer here just so that I can easily spin the motor over with the plugs out and find where I want to be. And I'm going to remove, I'm going to mark number one top dead center and remove the distributor. And when it comes around to number one, you can hold your thumb over the spark plug hole and you'll feel compression. I don't know if you heard that air come out of there. There we go. So we got the distributor lined up. This is where the number one spark plug wire is, and the pointer's right on it. So I like taking it apart that way, then when I put it together, I can put it right in the same spot. Alright, so I got the intake off, and the big thing here is I don't want to get all the silicone and gasket material or dirt down in the engine. So I'm going to lay a whole lot of rags, these blue shop towels, clean ones, down in here to stop anything from falling down in there. And I'll probably vacuum while I'm doing it. Keep everything out of there. I'll make a nice bed here. The intake removal is easy, just depends on what kind of silicone you use to adhere everything together, but I just have a nice removal tool like this that you can kind of gently tap through the end rail, trying not to mar it up too bad, or the intake. Once all the bolts are removed, you just tap it and get it to break loose and pry it off.
Hey Mike, what's up?
Hey Ed, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good, good. Well, I got my engine inside and I pulled all the spark plugs out. I pulled the distributor out. I took the intake off. And the next thing is just, we only pull one head off, right?
Yep. Stroke, it's a piece of cake.
Okay.
You know that apart and we'll have no problem.
All right,
Yeah.
Once I get it apart, I'll call you and see when we can have you come over.
Cool. Monday you want to go.
Yeah, Monday will be great.
Yeah.
That'll work awesome. See ya. All right, a little bit more work to do and then we're done. There we go.
I gotcha.
Set this. Set it with the input, I guess. Wow, that was way too easy. There we have our spec cylinder head. So yeah, that's it for today. We got the intake off and the head off so that the inspector can come and measure everything and make sure that it's all to the rules, and then we'll be able to reassemble it and he can seal it so that we know that it's good. So that was a little quick tutorial on how to do this. I had never seen it done myself. I mean, I'd seen an engine taken apart before, but I've never seen the engine get tacked. So, at least not at the shop. I've seen it at the racetrack. But this is a cool way of doing it because you can do it in a clean environment and they can seal it, and then we can go to the racetrack and race and go home at night at a decent hour. So I kind of like this idea. It really wasn't too bad. So we'll see what happens next. Okay, so we got the keepers out and then release the valve spring. And now we can take the valve out. I don't want to wreck this seal, so being careful. Okay, so we got the keepers out. And I'm trying to release this as low as I can. And there we go. We got our intake valve out. Strong? What do you mean strong? Strong boy.
Scratchy, scratchy.
No, you don't want to scratch the
I know.
Okay, so Ed Scott just left and finished his inspection of our PA New Jersey spec 358, and I'm going to go over a couple of things that he checked. So number one thing that he did was he inspected the ports on the heads. So he made sure that all the machine marks were there and that there was no port work done to the intake or the exhaust. And he had a mirror in there and everything to see the turn, and very, very thorough inspection of the ports. Next, he checked bore and stroke. So the bore can be no more than 4.070, and ours came out to be 4.025. So we got room to go a little bigger a few times on our rebuilds, and we can continue to use this block when we as it wears out. We can get bigger pistons, and we checked the stroke, and that is 3.48. And then the seats, when the valves were out of the head, you checked that the seats had not been blended into the head when they did the valve job. And then he checked the valve weight and measured the valve size and the stems. I had a heck of a time with this old tool, getting the valve springs on and off, but we managed to do it and got that back together. Then I torqued the head onto the engine. I made sure to clean the surface on the block and the cylinder head so that the gasket would seal well. And I always put a little bit of RTV right on this corner as the block meets the intake, and all these three pieces need to seal together. So I've always been told that that's where you put a little bit of RTV. Put engine oil on the head bolts and torqued them to 65 foot-pounds. And I went around from the center and worked my way out. I went around multiple times and started at a low torque value and worked my way up to 65 foot-pounds, and just kept doing that, making sure that the head gasket gets a good seal. Once that was torqued on, Ed was able to check the whistler, and that machine makes sure that our compression is less than 10.5 to 1. And ours came out to 10.2 to 1. So right within where we need to be. After that, he was able to put the seals on. Ed is the inspector at Grandview Speedway, so the seals show Grandview on, and we are sealed on both cylinder heads and the timing cover. So now our engine is sealed and ready to go. Now I can complete the process by putting the rockers back on and then reinstalling the intake and then the front drive system. So if you're not familiar with a 358 spec head, they say spec right in the port. And these machine marks here, what I was referring to, is what they're looking for to be consistent on every cylinder head. They're all machined the same. So now we've got the intake bolted on, and I've just evenly tightened all the bolts as I look down in the ports to make sure that everything's lined up with the intake ports. Gave that some time to dry and cleaned the water pump ports off, and I'm going to silicone each side of the gaskets. And then this particular setup for the front drive has little 1/8 spacers, so we're gonna have to have a gasket on each side, silicone each side. It's a lot, so be right back. At least this tool was good for something. All right, so now we've got the majority of our front drive on: fuel pump, water pump, power steering, alternator, water expansion tank, Drop the distributor in. Now I'm going to check the valve lash, and then I'm going to put the spark plugs in, and we're done. All right, so the final product, we're almost completely together. We got the engine stand on. We're ready to load it up in the truck. If you enjoyed this video on getting your engine sealed, at least for a PA New Jersey Spec 358. Thanks for watching the videos. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Come back next time.